What's up everybody, this is Tim with Tactics Boardshop. Today we're talking about deck rails and their uses, and then I'll show you how you can install them on your own board. So let's get started. Deck rails are thin plastic strips that you fasten to the bottom of your deck. Their primary use is to allow you to slide smoother and faster while doing any kind of board slide variation. They enable you to slide on crusty ledges that normally wouldn't slide with just the deck. Another benefit of deck rails is that it opens up some trick variations that might be hard or impossible without the rails. You can use the rails as a fulcrum to lift up one side of the deck by putting pressure on the opposite edge of the deck. This makes it easier to do deck to truck type trick combinations. Another bonus of deck rails is that they keep the graphic on the bottom of your board intact. The installation process is pretty straightforward. The only equipment you'll need is either a screwdriver or a power drill. The screwdriver works fine, but it takes a little longer and more effort. The rails should come with a set of 1/2-inch wood screws to secure the rails. Step 1 is figuring out where you want to put the rails. It's entirely up to you how you want to configure them. They can be symmetrical, offset, closer to the inside or outside, or you can just put on one rail. Have fun with it. But here's some simple placement guidelines. Don't put them so close to the edge that they're hanging off because they'll snag on something and get torn off. Also, don't put them too close to your wheel bite spot because you don't want to get wheel bite on the rail. I also wouldn't recommend putting them side by side directly in the center because this will make balancing any board slide trick very weird and difficult. Putting them further to the outside is going to make balancing forward and backwards while board sliding much easier. Putting them closer together makes it easier to tilt the deck up and do a bunch of board slide combos. A good range is from about 1 to 1.5 inches in from the sides of the deck. Step 2 is putting in the screws. Once you've decided where you want your rails, hold it securely in place and put in the first screw in one of the holes on either end of the rail. Using a fair amount of pressure, slowly start drilling the screw into the deck. If you're using a screwdriver, it might take quite a lot of pressure for the threads to start catching into the wood. I'd recommend going slow when drilling into the deck, because if you screw it in too much, the screw will strip out the hole and it won't have any wood left to hold on to. Tighten the screw until it's snug and fully sunken into the hole in the rail. The rail should also be flush with the deck. The second screw should go on the opposite end of the rail to secure it in place when you go to put the rest of the screws in. Finish up the rest of the screws and repeat the same steps on the other rail. You don't want any screws sticking out, because that means the screw isn't fully secure into the wood, and it also means that the screw will scratch on whatever you're sliding, defeating the purpose of the rail. There you go, you just installed your rails. Your rails will eventually get loose and start chattering when you skate, so tighten up the screws occasionally. If the holes get stripped and the rail starts chattering, squirt some glue under the rail or into the hole if possible to keep that rail in place. If your rail gets ripped off or the holes get stripped, you won't be able to put the rails back on in the exact same spot unless you fill the holes with some putty or some wood glue. But you can just reinstall them about 1/2 inch away from the old holes. Now go skate and board slide something crusty. If you got any questions at all, just leave them in the comment box down below, or just give us a call and we can help you get the answers you need.